Okay.
Yeah. So I
Yes.
think she said he had a rough go, but that she thought he had turned the corner.
Are we ready? You're recording?
We are.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, October 4th, 2021. I'd like to call to order the Humboldt County Board of Commissioners meeting. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join me, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with public comment. Is there anyone in the public who would like to provide comment? And let me check. Is Commissioner Haas, are you with us online?
I am.
Okay, hope you're feeling better.
Me too. Thank you.
So we have a full board. We'll have, I asked earlier, is there any public comment? Hearing none. We don't have any minutes. Approval of expenditures for Humboldt County for September 20th, 2021 through October 4th, 2021. Expenditures have been around. Are there any questions in regards to expenditures, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the expenditures?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the expenditures from September 20th, 2021 through October 4th, 2021 as presented.
Okay, motion's on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I hate to interrupt you here, but the participants are not hearing anything right now, I'm told. So folks, can you hear us in here? Can somebody just comment, please, real quick?
Hi, Dave. This is Gina. I can hear you guys just fine in the office.
Okay, good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Good. Okay. So we just approve the expenditures. The next is miscellaneous reports and correspondence. Other information of upcoming meetings. October 11th, 2021 will be a regional airport board meeting. October 14th, regional planning commission meeting. October 18th, another Humboldt County Commission meeting. Commissioner French, would you like to begin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had to report, attended the NACO conference in Fallon. Great conference, a lot of information. It was a good time had by all. I also wanted to report that I have a Nevada Works Board of Directors meeting on the 11th, a Western Interstate Region Public Land Steering Committee conference in Salt Lake City on the 12th, 13th, and 14th, and a state SLUPAC board meeting on the 15th. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tipton?
Yeah, I had a Humboldt General Hospital board meeting last Tuesday. It's a pretty short meeting, really. We didn't have a lot of new stuff we hadn't talked about before on there. And that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, Commissioner Hill. I also attended NACO last week. Echo what Commissioner French said. A lot of good information out there. And I don't have any other meetings to report.
Okay. Commissioner Haas, I know you've not been up and around too much, but maybe you've participated in something virtually. Do you have anything to report?
That I've been down from 13 to 15 days. Let's put it that way. Thank you for your concerns.
Okay. Yeah, I also attended the NACO meeting and have nothing else to report on that either. It was well attended. A lot of people were there, and it's a good meeting. With that, we'll move on to number 7 is Nevada Division of Wildlife's presentation. This is information only. Representatives from the Nevada Division of Wildlife, NDAL, will update the commission on the agency's activities and projects and the sale of the Disaster Peak Ranch. Come on up, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
Please identify yourself, pull the microphone on up to you there, and go ahead and get started.
Cody Byrne, Nevada Department of Wildlife.
And Ed Partee, Nevada Department of Wildlife.
So I'll start. We'll just give a brief update on the fisheries activities, and then Ed will jump in with the other activities that we have to update on. As everybody's aware, this year was tough with water conditions. We had low water pretty much everywhere on all the streams and reservoirs, so it was a challenging year for fisheries management, both in the LCT program and for our sport fisheries on it. Brief recap of some of the LCT work that we completed in the area this year. Like I mentioned, stream flows were extremely low on all the streams in the Quinn River and Little Humboldt basins on there. And we found fish were just happened to find refuge in the remaining spring outflows and headwater reaches of the streams. We did eDNA sampling, which is a relatively new sampling methodology that we've been incorporating the last couple of years on Crowley Creek, Able Creek, Rock Creek in the Sonomas, and Long Canyon will be completed next week. Stream surveys were completed on the entire Kings River system as a cooperative effort between NDOW, BLM, and the Kings River Ranch to collect baseline data that'll be used for that new permit renewal. And let's see, low flows. We also coordinated with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to complete, and the current landowner of Disaster Peak Ranch, Western Rivers Conservancy, to complete electrofishing on Line Canyon Creek and Corral Canyon Creek in the Drop Creek Mountains. On the sport fish notes, we had fish kills at Knott Creek, Built Creek this year. Reservoir levels are low everywhere on it. Onion Valley was probably our best fishery on it. It held fish, carryover fish on it. And chimney, as you guys know, is extremely low on it. I think Brad reached out to a couple of you guys to chat about that on it. So I don't know if we need to address anything for Wednesday's meeting regarding chimney. Neither him nor I will be available to attend the Wednesday meeting. So if there's any questions, we can field those on it. As to job responsibilities and stuff on it, I have recently accepted a new position as Eastern Region Fisheries Supervisor. So we'll be moving to Elko. In the meantime, the LCT position in Winnemucca is vacant, so I'll be covering both positions there on it. So if there's any questions regarding LCT management or recovery, just continue to please reach out to me. I know you guys had requested a update on the Disaster Peak Ranch on it. So it sold in September of 2020 to Western Rivers Conservancy. They're a private buyer. Currently, nothing has changed on the ranch. Nick Wilkinson is still involved in the ranch and is under contract with Western Rivers. That contract is lasting until the BLM permit continues. So they're under a 5-year contract. I think that BLM permit's good till 2025. Right now, their plans are to continue working with Nick. As I mentioned, he's under contract with the ranch, and he'll be taking on more management responsibilities in this upcoming year on it. The Zimmerman allotment and the associated permit will continue to remain active with livestock grazing on it. And in short, Western Rivers stance is that nothing will change on it, and they're going to continue working with Nick and other partners in the area to develop a working ranch that also has benefits for wildlife resources in the area.
Okay, so Cody, is the ranch actually sold to Endow and Oregon?
No, Western Rivers is the owner of the property right now.
Are the two fishing games trying to purchase it though, or?
We have submitted an application, not the two fishing games, the states have submitted an application to purchase part of the private, not the entire ranch, just part of the private.
So the Western Rivers will continue to be the permit holder, the grazing permit holder?
Correct.
Okay.
Maintaining a portion of the base property to maintain the permit that they can continue to lease out.
Okay.
And Mr. Wilkinson will be running all the cattle on that.
Correct. Okay. So that contract with Nick right now is for 5 years until, because that permit was renewed in 2015.
All right.
And I know in previous conversations, you had expressed concern about their management plan on it. And it is a plan that they're working with a third-party consulting agency that has worked west-wide on developing management plans for actively managed livestock operations on it. So they're committed to maintaining the livestock operation portion of the ranch and the BLM permit.
What about the private land? Will it continue to be irrigated and will all that water be kept in stream? How are you going to manage it?
I can't speak to Oregon right now on it because we don't have any type of formal plan, and we haven't seen what type of plan that the third-party group is going to develop on it. What Western Rivers envisions is developing that plan with a third-party group on it and bringing that forth to the states for review as part of the transfer of those properties.
Now, when you say third-party group, what are you referring to? Like
Western Rivers has hired a consulting company that specializes in working with private landowners and active ranches on developing management plans.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I had just one. You mentioned that a block of land was going to be there was an application in for the state. Is that for the state side of that Disaster Peak Ranch, and then Oregon's looking at the Oregon side of that
Correct.
to work in concert with one another?
Yeah. So it's only like 620 acres or so that's in Nevada.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And one other question to move off of that one, having to do with Chimney Reservoir. Since you're neither one of you are going to be able to make it here for that. My understanding as of this morning was Chimney had 2,000 acre feet of water in it. Do you know, do we know what that is?
I didn't get an update from Steve or Colton on that.
Okay.
I know they're both going to be here on Wednesday.
They are.
Yeah, and conversations that Brad and I had on it is, obviously we're very well aware and concerned that we're getting at the low critical level of the reservoir on it. Trying to continue good partners and neighbors with Crawford Cattle. We understand, it's a difficult situation on it, and based on both of our prior experiences there, feel that we can, work cooperatively to provide that additional 100 acre feet that they requested without a significant major impact to the fishery out there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to follow the lead. Obviously, you guys, you know better than anybody right now what is going on there. But I'm just concerned that if it's at 2,000 acre feet and we're still got maybe several months of evaporation going on in the reservoir, we're right at that ragged edge, especially if it's below 2,000 acres.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's getting near that definite critical point on it. The cooler temperatures are going to start helping things out.
Yeah.
Out there on it, and like I said, we had those discussions and just kind of weighing in all the different factors and stuff on it can be okay with if a decision is made to release that additional 100 acre feet.
And one last thing, you mentioned you were talking, kind of giving us an overview of the reservoir fisheries in the county and whatnot. And can you tell me what the status is? I know you mentioned you had a die-off at Knott Creek Reservoir. What is the status of that reservoir now? Is it gone? Is it something that's going to be restored again? Do we know anything about that, or have we evaluated that yet? Or
yes, there's a lot of samples being collected, both by NDOT and NDEP on it, trying to analyze the phosphorus and nitrogen levels both in the soils and in the water on there. The algae blooms, as I'm sure you guys are aware, the last couple of years have just been very significant and resulting in some major fish kills up there on it. Trying to figure out a long-term plan on it and reducing that nutrient loading that's leading to the algae blooms up there.
how about Built Creek? Did we lose that fishery?
No, but there was a small die-off that occurred there.
Okay.
But yeah, there's still bass, bluegill, and trout that carried through summer on there, but there was a small summer kill in there, which is new compared to the last few years on there.
And the last one is, you did mention, is Rye Patch. Last time I looked at Rye Patch, it was it was going fast, and I just wanted to have they.
Yeah, I intentionally left that one off, being Persian County on it, obviously nearby and stuff on it. Yeah, but extremely low water levels out there on there. Reminds me a lot of what we saw in that going into that winter of 2012, 2013 out there on it. So
yeah,
we'll see how things fare out there on it.
Is there any kind of a fish kill been observed there yet?
Not that we've seen, but I'm sure you guys all remember what happened after that. We went into that winter out there on it. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else with fisheries, I'll try to take the rest of the agency on. So I'll start off with our non-game activities. We have a biologist that covers that. Her name is Jane Van Gunst. She's been busy doing surveys. So she does 4 breeding bird survey routes across Humboldt, Pershing, and Lander counties. And it's contributing to a nationwide bird monitoring program run by the USGS. And then she's also doing bat acoustic across Humboldt and northern Washoe counties for northern bat monitoring program. The other thing she does is annual surveys for northern goshawk, and the goshawk is a aspen obligate species, and she's doing those across the Black Rock Range, Pine Forest Range, and Santa Rosa Range. And then conducting American pika inventories on an annual monitoring across northern and western Humboldt counties. She's been working in both Black Rock Range and Pine Forest Range on that stuff. Establishing genetic confirmation of the Humboldt yellow pine chipmunk, a subspecies of yellow pine chipmunk endemic to whitebark pine in the Pine Forest Range. It's pretty unique because it's been genetically isolated from other yellow pine chipmunks, which are both in the Warners and the Sierra Nevadas. Also doing shorebird surveys, populations across northeastern Nevada. And with the low water years, it's been kind of short on that. She's also doing a little bit of small mammal trapping for vulnerable small animal species, especially the pale and dark kangaroo mouse and lower elevation sagebrush and salt desert scrub environments. So that's the non-game activities. I don't know if anybody has any questions on any of that or not. If not, I'll move on to our law enforcement branch. Currently, we have one position vacant here in Winnemucca. They thought they had a candidate for that. He started going through posts, and then I think right before he ended,
He transferred to another agency.
yeah, so he transferred. So we're still down one position for there. So with all the hunting seasons going right now, our one warden that's here is covering both Pershing and Humboldt County. His name is Zach Bowman. He's fairly new. He's been here for a couple years now, doing patrols. We had sage grouse season this weekend, so him and about 2 other wardens were pretty busy covering Santa Rosa's and the Montana mountains. That's about it with law enforcement. Our habitat division, we're one position vacant there at the moment. One of the biologists that was leading that moved to water resources to take Steve's job here eventually when he retires. Habitat division's been pretty busy throughout the state all year long with water hauls, especially down south. We did one water haul here in Humboldt County, and that was out towards the Oahe. One of our water units out there was really low after I was doing pronghorn surveys and saw it, so I ended up hauling a bunch of water out to that one.
Is that in your guzzlers?
Yeah. So then we're also doing, continue fire rehab on all these fires we've had around Humboldt County and Elko County and everything. So we've been doing herbicide treatments 1 year and then coming back in after that ground's been fallow and then reseeding it, either aerial or with the drill seeders, just depends on where.
Are you getting any cooperative funding out of that, for that?
Yeah, we are. BLM is doing a lot of work with like the Martin Fire. We've done a ton of work out there. BLM, I think currently right now, BLM's out there doing some work. Mm-hmm. And then of course, with a lot of our NGOs, we're getting funding from them as well. So yeah, that, there again, it's been pretty busy with all that stuff too. So anything else on habitat? All right, and then game, that's what I kind of on the lead on that. We have a lot of different things going on. We embarked on a new program, Mule Deer Enhancement Program. We've had one meeting. We're getting ready to have a field trip with the members on that. And then basically this program is to try to improve mule deer numbers throughout the whole state. So there's 17 different counties and they all have groups that are dealing with the same thing. So they're looking at a whole array of things, whether it's habitat issues, predator issues, whatever the case may be. We're going to go through, try to see if there's anything we can do to, improve those areas, bring mule deer back a little bit. So that program is a new program. Gosh, it hasn't even been a year's time yet for that one. As far as surveys go, annually I conduct a lot of different surveys, pronghorn surveys, bighorn sheep surveys, mule deer surveys, do brood surveys for birds, elk surveys, and sage grouse lek surveys. So that all is throughout the course of the year. Mule deer we usually do twice a year, pronghorns once a year, bighorn sheeps once a year, and then the other two, sage grouse and chucker and stuff like that's once a year as well. We have an elk COT team, which is a coordination oversight team for elk management for Unit 051. Currently, it's with COVID and everything, we haven't met for a couple of years. It was an annual thing. It went right in front of our commission. I think the last commission meeting or the commission meeting before, to talk about making it an every other year type deal unless there's, significant problems with elk in the county. But right now, we haven't really seen any issues with elk. They seem to be staying where they're supposed to be staying. We just started a new project for the Santa Rosa Range for California bighorn sheep. We had to die off in the Santa Rosa Range back in 2003. That Microplasma pneumoniae is still existing in that population and has ever since 2003. It's the same strain. It's actually gone across borders into Oregon. So all the 10-mile rattlesnake country, all that extension of the Santa Rosas north has that mycoplasma. And so we're in cooperation with Oregon, and we have been for several years, but we're starting this new program this year. It's a test and removal program. So basically all the research is showing that you get rid of those what they call shedders, those ewes that are expelling that to their offspring or to other animals. If we can remove those from the population, test them and remove them, then it should take care of this issue and hopefully rebound that population at some point. So we started trapping in August, this last August, and it actually went really well. We caught 29 sheep and those were the Andorno area, 8 Mile area, and Martin Creek area. And the idea was we have a portable biomean machine that we can test the animal right there on site. And the test usually takes about an hour. So we'll hold animals for anywhere from an hour to hour and a half, depending on when they come in and stuff. We can see if they're positive or negative at that time. If they're positive, we remove them from the population. If they're negative, they go back up on the mountain. Everything that we capture got collars so that we can continually monitor it for the next few years. We kind of figure this is going to probably be a 4 to 5 year project. So it'll be every year, probably possibly a summer trapping operation and also a possible winter capture operation as well. Let's see, all our hunts are underway right now. Getting a lot of phone calls for big game hunts and small game hunts as well. That pretty much wraps us up. I can go through population estimates, just real brief for Humboldt County. Our elk population just is not going anywhere right now. It's running about 100 individuals. Our California bighorn sheep throughout the county is anywhere from about 1,200 to 1,300. Our pronghorn throughout the county is on a decline right now. As of last year, our estimates were right around 3,500, but I suspect that it's going to be a lot lower this year. And then mule deer for the county is running right around 6,000. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
What's the 6,000 correlate to for historical numbers in mule deer?
I haven't looked that up. I didn't look that up. I had that in a presentation we just did for this mule deer enhancement program, and I just can't think of it right off the top of my head. It's down from historic, but that's pretty much everywhere statewide. Yep. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I had a quick one. Ed, you mentioned that you had this enhancement program in all 17 counties. Did the governor appoint people for that, or did you guys? Is it a wildlife advisory board?
Well, basically, it's a lot of it is we've picked like the chairmans or whatever from each county wildlife advisory board. So they're on it. We have sportsmen on it. We have landowners on it, permittees, so we're trying to get it across the board with different folks for us. And for our county, our group is actually 2 counties. We got Persian and Humboldt County that we're working at the same time on that.
Okay.
So.
And one other question, you mentioned that yellow pine chipmunk.
Uh-huh.
Is that a animal, it's a sensitive species, it's on the list right now as a sensitive
As
species?
far as I know, it is, yes. Yeah, that's.
Is it a
it's up-
candidate species for threatened status, do you know?
I don't know on
I don't
that.
know if it is or not. I
You
know
haven't heard
it's,
anything on it?
no, I know it's always something that we've looked at, whenever we've had to deal with BLM and fires and stuff. It's one of the species that comes up that we need to try to protect that stuff.
Is anybody making any noise with regard to spring snails? Any bivalve spring
Do you know
spring
that?
snails?
I haven't heard anything in Humboldt County.
Okay, because that, being on a drought cycle like we're in right now, as you're well aware, though, a lot of those springs are
Yeah.
dried up, and I can just hear that coming up now. So, okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question, if you're finished with that.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Then I'll move on to the next.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, the governor came out with an executive order that to improve habitat and connectivity between, particularly for mule deer and that sort of thing. Have you guys gotten any direction on that about, I assume he's going to work with private landowners. This will include private landowners.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea behind this mule deer enhancement program also, is to kind of coordinate with all that, try to do it more on a landscape instead of these postage stamp deals, especially dealing with migratory areas, with both pronghorn and antelope, to have that connectivity between habitats, it just because we hit the Oregon state line doesn't mean the habitat stops right there, because
Right.
they know no boundaries.
So will there be committees or groups? where
I haven't
engage?
heard too much on that yet, Ron. I don't know.
Okay, well, keep us informed on
Yep.
that, because I was a little bit taken by surprise. I didn't know he was even working on this. He says he's going to be working with landowners on this as well, but
Right.
I haven't heard a whole lot about it. So it's going to entail, it's going to be important he does work with landowners, because a lot of the prime habitat is going to be on private land.
Yep.
So. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a follow-up question on the executive order. Did you guys get caught by surprise with that executive order as much as we did? I would expect something to come out of the
Out in the-
sagebrush ecosystem.
Out in the field, maybe we did, but I think our upper management,
Had a clue it
I
was
think
coming.
Director Wasley was kind of aware of it.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about the whole issue of creating passageways under the highway for, migration routes and whatnot. And I kind of thought we've been doing that since forever. But,
Yeah, a lot of that's occurred, over there in the Elko County area.
Right.
Bequops has, 2 really large, bridges basically for migration routes, and then
Right.
also going up towards Jackpot there. I guess the other thing is we might be seeing some extra funding coming in at some point that's not completely finalized. It's RAWA funds, and if it does go through, wildlife state agencies will see a pretty significant bump in their funding. So that'll help with a lot of these
to
different
identify
projects.
additional spots for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one last item having to do with the Mountain Home Air Force Base.
Yeah.
Have they been keeping you up to speed on that with regard to the?
Yeah, one of our staff guys in Reno, Matt Maples, is taking the lead on that for us. I had one of the biologists from Oregon talk to me about it, and I really hadn't seen anything on it until he brought it to my attention. So then we ran it up, to our staff level, and they're working on comments and everything on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, that was another one caught us by surprise. I mean, the comment period was about this long.
I think it's extended now.
Yeah, in fact, we screamed at them to ask for that as well, because, it's significant. I mean,
Absolutely.
If you take a look at the lead that happened down at Fallon, the impact to the wildlife resources from what you guys do for a living and your
Right.
ability to fly, ability to manage and whatnot it's huge. And
Yeah, and
not
with
to mention the
It
access.
expands their airspace a little bit too, which is
A lot.
always pretty concerning to me, because I've had close calls with jets before while in the helicopter, that low elevation stuff. But yeah, so there's
Yeah.
We are looking at it, yes.
Okay. If we can help you with that, keep us in the loop because we're tracking this pretty tight too right
Okay.
now. And the last but not least is California condors. Have you heard anything about the experimental population California condors, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service?
I haven't.
I just bring you a heads up, so maybe you want to bring it up to the staff, is that they have introduced California condors in the northern California and with the expectation that her historic range as well as their experimental range is going to be all the way across the northern end of Humboldt County.
Oh,
So it doesn't really look to me like traditional California condor habitat, but the idea behind that, though, and the part that I think probably ought to be on your guys' radar as well as ours, is that that designation changes things in terms of how we manage other items on the public land. So
yep.
just want to bring it to your attention. So thanks.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up another good avenue, I guess. And Jim, I know you're aware of it. I don't know if everybody else here is or not, but you guys have the county advisory board for managing wildlife that you guys appoint, obviously, people to, but we meet with them probably 8 to 10 times a year. And every time we meet with them, we have end-out reports that we report to them on all of our activities and stuff. So I don't know, it might be good for, you got Tom Casanelli, Mike Gerard, Giovanni Giordano, Larry Allen, and Tony Gildone on there. They're all really good people to have on there, but it might be, a good avenue for you guys to get a lot of reports too. Just because that would be the I guess the go-to between us and them or you guys. So just a thought.
Yeah, it's kind of touchy for the commissioner to be attending those meetings and whatnot, but from a standpoint of requesting all of the support information that you guys are presenting in there, that certainly is a pipeline back.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even just having your, where you're doing your reports on your different committees and stuff, having one of those guys give a report or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed.
But that'd be a really good avenue. Like I said, we talk to those guys, 8 to 10 times a year. So it's a pretty good avenue to get information.
Okay.
Cody, is there any planned reintroduction LCT poisoning any of the streams on the Santa Rosas here in the near future?
No, not at this time.
Nothing. Okay.
Yep, we're working on a project in Able Creek, but there's no treatment or poisoning or anything on that. It's just the continuation of the mechanical removal, which has been going on for 15 years now on it. Just
tough time to be reintroducing with the drought the way it is.
Combination of that and, as you're well aware, a lot of those streams, the headwaters are in the wilderness, and that's a non-starter on the Santa Rosa district right now.
Oh, okay. Well, we certainly appreciate your guys' update. Thanks.
Yep.
I just have one question. I guess, Brad, maybe you can answer this. For our meeting on Wednesday, October 6th, this is Commissioner Hill too, for the record. Neither one of you guys will be available.
No, we don't have.
Will you have any
We don't have
representation?
any NDOW staff available on Wednesday morning.
Will you guys be writing in a comment at all? Will you even be commenting during that meeting?
Just the comments that I provided today, and then I believe Brad reached out and spoke with a couple of commissioners.
So you won't have any comments on record during that day for I'm not even going to say recommendations, but any comment towards the decision that we're going to be faced with?
Just what's been covered up to this point.
Okay.
Well, I haven't heard from Brad yet. I've left 2 messages for him to get back to me because I kind of, quite frankly, I'm not real comfortable with making a decision of dumping any more water out of that reservoir unless you guys are on board.
He's out deer hunting right now, and so that's why we had made sure to chat last week while in the office and knew that we had this information update with the commission this morning on it, and so provided our view that taking in consideration of everything on it, that we can be okay with supporting that 100 acre-feet release if that's what the commission decides to go with on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I did get a call from Brad who said that they want to work with the landowner and understand that.
Yeah, I
need it this year.
And especially, from my program and the LCT recovery stuff on there, we've had a very productive working relationship with Crawford Cattle on it. And so, that's kind of a balance of all the different resource managements and stuff on it for this situation.
Did they happen to mention how they're going to deliver that 100 acre feet of water? Are they planning on delivering that water to the Bullhead Ranch, or are they planning on ponding that water below the dam?
I think that'd be a question for Steve and Colton.
And I know Brad talked quite a bit with Steve and Colton
Yep.
on this too, so.
Yeah, the Water Resources and NDAV communicated quite a bit on it, and Brad and I chatted last week and stuff on it. And like I said, it's just the scheduling of how things lined out. We just don't have staff available for Wednesday morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Number 8 is the district attorney approval to seek outside counsel regarding the McDermott sewer lawsuit. Discussion, consideration, possible action to retain the law firm of Thorndale, Armstrong, Dilk, Blankenbush, and Eisinger to represent Humboldt County and the McDermott General Improvement District in the lawsuit filed in the 6th Judicial Court of the State of Nevada in the case of number CV 0022777 by Stoho Enterprises, Inc., DBA Diamond A Motel, a Nevada corporation, and Stoho Enterprises, LLC, a Nevada limited liability company. And is that Eliza? Alyssa I. Fogel, an individual plaintiff versus Ty Albisu, Linda Albisu, FKA Linda Fields, Markham, individually Anchor S Ranch and Rentals, LLC, a Nevada limited liability company, Humboldt County, a political subdivision of the state of Nevada, and the DOES 1-20 defendants, and to provide legal services for all matters related to the subject of the lawsuit, and to authorize the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners to sign an engagement letter for the legal representation. Discussion and possible action. Lord, Mike, I'll let you explain that in English.
I'll try. Good morning, Chairman and fellow members of the Commission, Madam Clerk. I believe that the Commission is aware that a lawsuit was filed with our local district court here in the state court by Ms. Vogel and her motel and company against Albisu's Mark Markham, who's a neighbor there of the motel, and included Humboldt County. Humboldt County to date has not been served with the lawsuit. We are aware of it, and I have been in communication with attorneys on both sides of this lawsuit. There has been some work done in the lawsuit from standpoint of a preliminary or temporary restraining order, preliminary injunction. An order was issued, and there was supposed to be another hearing last week. However, my understanding that was continued. But as part of that, and this is related to it's a sewage line issue or blockage of sewer line that occurred on private property where the county or the McDermott GID does not have an easement, and the line itself we believe is a private line and not one that the McDermott GID or Humboldt County in any way has any claim to it. It does tie in further downstream or down the line into the line, the McDermott sewer system, and then makes its way out to the ponds. And so from that standpoint, this part of the system, I think that's in essence why Humboldt County was included in the lawsuit, because somewhat involved in the sewer business up there in McDermott. From a standpoint of there's claim of not only permission to perform work or to grant some form of property rights, which I don't believe the county has much involvement in that part of the lawsuit. However, we are named, and there are claims from, I think, both sides, essentially, that their property has been harmed or business has been harmed either by sewage or the inability to conduct business because of this problem. And the state and DEP has been involved, and various other folks. It appears in my discussions with an attorney on each side that I've talked to so far, they believe that, and they hope that Humboldt County can assist in maybe coming up with not only a short-term, but more importantly, a long-term solution out there. Some of that may require some significant work. And because of that, we feel it's appropriate to ask for some assistance in either just monitoring if we are still on the outside or periphery of this lawsuit, or for taking a more active role if we were drug more into the direct line of this lawsuit or the particulars of the lawsuit. We would need assistance that our office cannot provide with our ongoing workload and everything else. This firm has represented Humboldt County on various occasions in the past. Is a firm that represents various other local entities, county or city or municipality entities through PullPack. At this point in time, last week I received a letter from PullPack, the claims manager, indicating that at this point in time they do not believe that this lawsuit would be covered by their insurance, and so this would be these attorneys' fees and any potential costs or liabilities at this point in time would be the subject of the responsibility of the General Improvement District or Humboldt County, which also causes me to request or support the request for additional help in this regard. I did receive a letter dated October 1 that said that this letter should serve as an engagement letter. It is not one that needs to be signed or has a signature line by anybody, but it does indicate that their hourly rate, $250 per hour, which is pretty standard with our work with this firm. And I'm available to and can answer any questions that I can at this point in time. Our recommendation would be to approve the retention of this law firm, Thorndal Armstrong, to assist us in the lawsuit and everything related to the sewer issue up there in McDermott.
Well, I have received a few calls myself on this. So that we, the county or the General Improvement District, doesn't add on any additional liability to the district or the county, is there any requirements that this, I know the lawsuit is ongoing and still a lot of issues to be resolved. There's some claims that some things are still going on and the county is not taking care of doing what it's supposed to be doing to stop it, rectify it, or whatever. Are there any liability to the district or the county by not taking any action if something is going on that shouldn't be?
Yeah, I think by not taking action, I think our risk is greater. By retaining, I indicated that at this point in time, we have not been formally served. I have seen the majority of the documents in the lawsuit at this point in time and have forwarded them to this firm. I think it is important for them to be up to speed so that if we learn of a court hearing in this week or next week or whatever, that we have somebody that's prepared. Particularly, there's different parts or facets to this lawsuit. One relates to the ability to allow some repairs to be made currently, or authorization to maintain the line that exists. Our position is where this occurred, it's a private line and is not part of the main McDermott sewer system that we are clearly responsible for when it's part of the main system. I think the solutions, whether they be temporary or more importantly permanent, I think that those things clearly are part of our more day-to-day process or obligations, whether you're talking about from the standpoint of the McDermott General Improvement District or this board acting as the board of directors or board of trustees of that GID. As I indicated that in the agenda item, both entities, Humboldt County and the McDermott GIT are listed as you guys are well aware, and as I've indicated to the parties, you know, the McDermott GID is not a entity, a political entity that has a large bank account by any stretch, and so we as a big sister, big brother to a lot of our rural districts or organizations have to step up, even when they have a separate board and those types of things. It's happened regularly. In this case, with your involvement as the board for that district, and as well as it is the Humboldt County Public Works that is handles the day-to-day work up there with that system. That it's a little bit different situation, and clearly the county has some responsibility in there. I think that again, no action, I think we run greater risks. I think that we want to be part of a solution that not only would assist the parties involved in this case, but I don't want us to possibly have a say in a solution to that lawsuit that may affect how the system operates, or where the system or the different lines are, or where they hook up into our system, and potentially create some other problems. I believe that previously there was an agenda item before the McDermott GID, and I think there was some, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's some discussion and maybe an action item to retain engineer or start working with an engineer to look at some different options out there as well. And from that standpoint, I think it's important for us to have additional assistance to work with the different parties and their counsel as this progresses.
Yeah, and I don't know how much to say or not say,
Yeah.
But if there has been allegations and none of it is proven that I'm known that there's some additional contamination happening, who is responsible for any enforcement? Would that be the state or GID, the county?
Well, the state from standpoint of contamination, clearly, we being, and I'm speaking in general terms of the county but specifically the McDermott GID, as operators of a sewer system, we have responsibility for what we can control, but ultimately it's the state has the enforcement action. We have to comply with state and federal requirements as it relates to that, and that's the case whether there's a lawsuit or not. I mean, we work under those guidelines. Don and his crew are wrestling with issues that come up all the time, not only on the sewer side, but also on the water side as well up there.
And since this is not part of the sewer district's responsibility, this line, then it kind of falls on the property owner to, if there's any leakage or anything like that. Huh?
Well, yeah, and I'm no expert. I think for those of us in town where you have water or sewer system, when you have a problem, they say, well, they come out and say, the city might take responsibility, everything up to the meter. And they're on your curb, but anything from there to your house, you're inside your property, the landowner's responsible for. And I believe that's a very similar situation here. What's unique is my understanding is this is a lateral line that hooks into the main sewer line that we maintain. And this private lateral line provides service for more than one parcel. And whether one can do that today under today's regulatory system with the state, I do not know. I would suspect I would say it's probably not ideal, even if it is allowed. But my understanding is this private line's been there for quite some time, many decades, and it is what it is.
Okay. Commissioner French.
Mr. Chairman, Mike, I noticed that there wasn't a not to exceed number on this, and I'm just kind of wondering if we've contemplated a worst case scenario yet in terms of hours on this thing.
Do not have an idea at this point, and I think I can indicate, and I think Mr. Mendiola would agree that we will keep you updated, obviously, as this progresses. Should something happen, whether the costs or fees on the legal representation side or any liability risk, if it looks like there's a significant risk of a significant amount of money that we may be responsible for or ultimately liable for, that is something that we will keep you posted and want to try and minimize as much as possible. But you'll have our word that if things really ramp up, we'll come back before you and let you know not only what's going on with the suit, but also with the fees.
Any other questions?
That's all I had.
So what do we just need to?
Retain the law firm of Thorndall Armstrong and to represent Humboldt County and the McDermott GID, and to represent those entities, McDermott GID and Humboldt County, or provide legal services to those entities for everything related to this sewer issue there in McDermott. There isn't anything to sign on this engagement letter that we received. Just action by this board would be sufficient with this letter, and I'll provide a copy of this to the county manager to put in the county files.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm prepared to make.
I have a question real quick. This is Commissioner Hill. Like, so this is not something normally we would take care of within the county, the DA and the lawyers that you have around you? Or is this just because your workload's such that you guys don't feel comfortable, I guess, taking care of this issue internally?
Couple things. Typically, when we are subject of a suit, the vast majority of the time, Pool Pack retains the attorneys and pay for it. They've made a determination, so that work is done outside of our office. Secondly, I did mention our workload and caseload, but also in this type of lawsuit is not something that our office handles on a regular basis by any stretch. We assist where we can and provide assistance in different forms, whether it's historical information or whatever it may be. We try and assist outside counsel, whether their counsel that's Pool Pack is paying the fees or where it's coming directly from the county, to assist in putting together representation as well as to minimize the costs. But it's kind of all of the above are the reasons why we bring in outside counsel.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then I guess we're looking for a motion. If there's no additional questions.
There's no additional other questions. I'll prepare to make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I would move that this, Commissioner French, I would move that we retain the law firm of Thorndal, Armstrong, Balkenbush, and Eisinger to represent Humboldt County and the McDermott General Improvement District in the lawsuit filed in the 6th Judicial District of the State of Nevada in case number CV0022777 by Stoho Enterprises, Inc., DBA Diamond A Motel.
You did say we don't need to authorize the chairman to sign anything.
That is correct.
Okay.
This action with this letter will be sufficient.
Okay.
I guess the only other comment I have before we vote would be, we're not putting a not to exceed number on here, or is this just an open checkbook or what?
We don't know.
At this point, we just do not know.
Okay.
We have a chance. I guess I asked that question initially, and
Yeah.
I think ultimately what I come back to is that, we can tap the brakes at any time, depending on what we see coming or going. And I think that's what District Attorney mentioned, was that he'll keep us up to speed in terms of how this thing's progressing and what the liability is to the county as well as the improvement district. I think that's the best we can do at this stage, not knowing where this is going to go.
Okay. If nothing additional, then there is a motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay.
But records show that Commissioner Hill voted nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to Comptroller Financial Report. Humboldt County Comptroller Gina Rackley will provide an overview of current conditions with respect to Humboldt County revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 2022, July 1st, 2021 through July 30th, 2022, including the possible impacts of COVID-19 response to the county, and an update on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Information only. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Commissioners. Comptroller Gina Rackley for the record. We did receive the July CTX report, so it is down a little bit, down 7.6%, but I guess that's probably to be expected. You'll remember last July, we were actually up 23.1% year over year. So I think that this is a sign that things are starting to maybe be the new normal, hopefully the new normal, because it was still $1 million month. I mean, it was still a strong month. So some of the areas that we saw some good news on, mining was an 89% increase, utilities was a 14% decrease, specialty trade contractors and also decrease. Merchant wholesalers in both durable and non-durable goods were up. Motor vehicle parts and dealers were down about 9% or about $700,000. I think that some of that could be attributed to the supply and demand that we're seeing. And also this time last year, there were a lot of incentives coming out of the vehicle dealers, manufacturers on purchasing. So still strong. I mean, it really is still strong. Furniture sales were up 23%. Electronics and appliances were up 28%. But here's going to be the culprit that's driving this decrease, and that's the non-store retailers. So they were down 71%. So last year, the total sales were 7.5 million compared to 2.1 million. So I think as people are starting to feel more comfortable in going out and going to stores to make the purchases, and less of them are being made online. So that's really where that's going to be the major part of that $4 million difference year over year. And then again, our restaurants, foods and services, drinking places, they were up 24%. So that is nice to see. Room tax was also up. So we're seeing strong revenues continue to come in there. Regarding ARPA, last week was kind of our deadline that we asked for the communities to let us know on their requests. So I've received all of them except for I did talk to Pat Flores. He was going to go out to Denio and get us a number for the HVAC system in the community hall, and I haven't heard back from him. But we did hear quite a bit out of Denio. So right now, without that number, the requests are about $360,000 over our total award. So this will come back before you at your next meeting for us to send in our plan. We did hear some things out of the Treasury last week, which is kind of conflicting. The first said we were going to have till the end of December to get our plan in, but then the second thing said that that was only going to be for the major metropolitan areas that got the extension. The what are the NEUs they call us, because we have population under 50,000, would still be the end of October. But either way, I think we're safe, ready to turn in a plan with what we have, or at least start talking about that and get that completed. And we'll bring that to you next meeting.
Did you say that the deadline to submit a plan is passed?
Is the end of October. We had that was the original, and then we heard last week that they were extending that for the major, anything over 50,000 they got till the end of December. But then another thing that came out from the GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, said everybody was going to get the end of December. But I think we're ready to go ahead and turn in an initial plan.
Yeah, I think we're ready. The end of September deadline that she spoke of is what we had asked people to get information. We can look that over and make decisions.
Correct.
You know, I know there was ideas in Norvada, and I have dropped the ball by not talking to them enough, but they just don't have meetings very often. They might have whenever there's a need, and they haven't had one in quite some time. So there's a need now, so I need to push them a little harder to.
The requests that you received are for the money that we have now or for the total amount?
The total amount. So that is going to be part of your decision too. I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get the other half of the award next May, but I think we need to kind of prioritize this list at your next meeting in preparation of what if. I mean, we're all watching what's going on in DC right now, right? Like, you know, what if they pull that other half off the table and we don't get the other half? So I think maybe part of the plan should be what half is between now and next May, and what half is between May and December 2024.
Yeah.
It's so it's like a two-part.
I agree. Spend money you have, not money you think you have.
Right, correct. That's always a good philosophy.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Dina.
you. You're welcome.
If there's no other questions. Okay, that brings us to, it's only 9:30, so we can't do the public hearing yet.
Probably go to Public Works 12.
12. Public Works Department request to purchase water truck and frac tank. Possible action in general road projects for informational only. Consideration, discussion, possible approval to purchase a water truck from Peterbilt Truck Parts Equipment in an amount not to exceed $23,855. The purchase is to replace a water truck that can no longer be fixed. Discussion, possible action. Morning, Don.
Good morning, Commissioners. Don Kalkowski, Humboldt County Public Works. So in our budget this year, we had budgeted for replacement of the whole truck. We've since evaluated the truck that we have. The one we were going to replace, the tank is leaking really bad. There was some little issues with the truck, but we're feeling, the mechanics are feeling that the truck is still in good shape and we can save a little bit right now. And it'll probably last us probably a good another 10, 15 years if we put a water tank on it. So that's why we went the route we did. I believe we've been approved for 50,000 and just the tank itself is 23,855 for this. And we did solicit quotations from various other locations. So questions?
No, maybe just a correction to the agenda here. It says that it's to purchase and replace a water truck, and it should say tank there, the second part of it.
Yeah. I think the "and" should just come out of it. It
Anyway.
says water truck frac tank, which should be just take the "and" between them.
No, I've got frac tank.
Just in number 12. Number 12 is what
Yeah.
somebody reads this later, they might think they were considering.
That's just on the header, though. The detail
Yeah.
says water truck tank.
Item A.
So, but you're right. That was incorrect on the header.
The purchase is to replace a water truck that can no longer be fixed. That's what it says, but.
A water truck tank from Peterbilt. Anyway, but yes, the header is incorrect. The header is
Does it say water truck?
water truck.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman,
Anyway.
this is a no-brainer. We just need to get that. This is Commissioner French. I would move that we approve the purchase of a water truck tank from Peterbilt Truck Parts and Equipment in an amount not to exceed $23,855.
Okay, motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Haas, did you vote aye?
I voted aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Item B is consideration, discussion, and possible approval to purchase a frac tank from Affordable Equipment Sales and Rentals in an amount not to exceed $29,800. Purchase of the frac tank will help Public Works address water source and usage issues for roadway maintenance activities. Discussion, possible action.
So this one's a little bit different. We do not have this one budgeted. However, we did have belly dump trailers budgeted this year, and we went out to bid for those. The prices we got back were almost double what we've paid in the last 2 years. So we made a decision to limp through and wait, keep what we have going as much as we can, and then see if prices stabilize for this stuff. In the last 2 years, we've spent $82,000 to replace these, a truck, a trailer and a pup. This year it's nearly $140,000 to do the same thing. So it just seemed a little irresponsible in my mind to do that, not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, in a year or two, if prices stay the same, then it's something we're just going to have to deal with and go that route at that time. So since I essentially pulled those off the table, we went back to our priority list, and priority list was installation of frac tanks at various locations that we have throughout the county. We've put 2 of these in the last couple of years out on Jungle Road. They work very well. We don't have evaporation loss. We don't have any wildlife issues getting into ponds, drowning. And the filling ability of the trucks is very quick. So we've dealt with affordable before, and they're very easy to deal with. And he had a couple in stock, and he's offered them to us for, I didn't even say. Well, 2 of them for a total cost of $29,800 delivered to our yard. And that'll give us the ability to put one out, Jungo Well 1, which still has a pond that still has wildlife issues, possibly getting into it and drowning. And then the other location would be Red House out by the Midas Road.
The way this is written, it sounds like you're asking to buy a frac tank. We're going to be buying 2.
Correct.
That's a not to exceed numbers, you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
That is important, that it isn't just 1 tank for 49,000 or 29,000, it's 2.
Yeah. These are these on a trailer or something? Are they?
So they have a trailer axle at the back. We can hook them up to any of our belly dumps. We can pull them out to the site, and that's what we've done at the other locations. And then we pull the tires off the axles, and basically they are just a water tank. It's just a storage. It's 21,000 gallons, and if we have a well that roughly runs a couple hundred gallons a minute, it'll keep up pretty decently throughout the day as we're utilizing it for the road maintenance.
I think it makes sense.
I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Any other questions? Or make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of 2 frac tanks from Affordable Equipment Sales and Rentals in an amount not to exceed $29,800.
Okay. Motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Haas, was that an aye?
That is an aye.
Thank you. It's not coming through sometimes, so. Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item C, presentation by Humboldt County Public Works Director Don Kalkowski to update the board on road projects within Humboldt County. However, no action may be taken on a matter raised until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken.
So good morning again, Don Kalkowski, Humboldt County Public Works. For our South Winnemucca crew, we've kind of finished our adding material to the roads out airport. We're not completely done, but they've pulled off to do some grading. Right now they're moving to grading kind of the Grass Valley proper area right now and bringing some of those roads up. It's been a while since we've been on those because a lot of them have been magged, and they've held up very well this summer. So it allowed us to get some work done on other locations. So they're moving back to grading this week. The North Winnemucca crew has completed their work on Sand Pass. the sand dunes they've worked on, Pedroli Thompson, and now they're working on Jones Lane, adding some material to that. Trying to get that up, and then they'll probably move out to Jungo from there. Paradise Valley crew, the last couple of weeks, been working on Shelton Lane, Cloudman Lane, and Chimney. And I think it was last week they replaced cattle guard at 101 Ranch Road. And that was a cattle guard through a cooperative agreement with BLM that we got the cattle guard and bases from BLM and we installed them. We maintain them, they provide the materials. So it worked out pretty well for us on that one. The Golconda crew, they finished up Dutch Flat. I believe the potato harvest is complete. So now they've moved out to the Midas Road, and that one's taken a beating this summer with the lack of moisture that we've had. So they're working on that. And then Orvada Kings River, they're still working. The corn harvest is still ongoing. So they're out there basically just watering roads, trying to keep everything together. And then the Denial crew, they've kind of finished up their Leonard Creek, Big Creek, Woodward project, or just grading that they've been doing, and they're working on kind of touching up some bad areas, hauling materials out to Jackson Creek and some other holes on Woodward today and tomorrow, and then they'll get back to grading. Questions, comments?
Any questions for Don?
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
So do you want to go on to the assessor next, Dave?
Yes, please.
Assessor's Office request to upgrade GIS software. Consideration, discussion, possible approval of a request to proceed with contracting Sidwell to upgrade the current ESRI product ArcMap to ArcPro in an amount not to exceed $24,000 and is subject to the District Attorney's Office review and approval. The Assessor's Office currently holds 6 of the 9 total licenses. Humboldt County Public Works, Humboldt County Planning Department, and the City of Winnemucca hold the other 3 licenses. They have agreed to contribute $2,500 each. The remaining amount, $16,500, will come from the Assessor's Technology Fund. Discussion, possible action. Do we have somebody on here from Assessor's Office?
Yes, Andy is on.
Yes, good morning. Sorry, I'm Andy Heiser, Humboldt County Assessor for the record. My apologies for not being there in person. So this is our big program for all of our mapping. Esri is, we've started with them. They're the company of mapping. Sidwell is a sister company of theirs. They've been married up with each other for quite a long time, and know the applications very, very well. I have total confidence in them to help assist in this. This program, or the ARC, so Esri is the company, ArcMap is the application. They are going to be stopped supporting that in 2024. And after an in-depth meeting with Sidwell, it just seemed now would be the right time to convert over and start with the Arc Pro. I reached out to the 3 other departments and the city, well, I guess 2 other county departments and the city, and luckily they are willing to assist us in this. It was budgeted, but the amount for the conversion came over a little bit more. It's they're learning more and more all the time on how to do this conversion, and so the price was a little bit more unexpected than what the price was unexpected from what they originally told us the conversion would cost. Any questions?
Andy, is this a one-time cost or annual?
One-time cost. We have an annual license fee that we pay that's outside of this. But no, this conversion is just a one-time cost.
Any other questions for Andy?
Cost of doing business.
Could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, as Commissioner French, I would move that we approve the request from the assessor's office to proceed with contracting with Sidwell to upgrade the current ESRI product ArcMap to Arc Pro in an amount not to exceed $24,000 and subject to the district attorney's review and approval.
Okay. Motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Still too early to go to public hearing, so Sheriff's Office request to accept grant award. Consideration, discussion, possible approval to accept a grant award from the Office of Criminal Justice Assistance in the amount of $117,784.22 for the purchase of a mobile data terminal and 2 years data service for the terminals. Discussion and possible action. Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Humboldt County Sheriff Mike Allen, for the record. So we found a grant opportunity for some mobile data terminals, and this has been an item that for the last 7 years, we've been considering approaching the commission for a outright purchase of MDTs, what they're known as for our patrol vehicles. However, I didn't like the price tag, and so now Captain Wilkin did find a grant opportunity that will put all these terminals in our patrol vehicles, and it is necessary. The police department does have all them or MDTs in their vehicles. Years ago, it was discussed, this is before I became sheriff, that all the patrol vehicles should have them, but we just never found a funding source to purchase those. So we are requesting to purchase those MDTs, or accepting the grant to purchase the MDTs in the amount of $112,784.22.
Yes.
I have some questions. Sheriff, is the 117,784, is that going to cover the cost of it, or is there additional cost that's going to be borne by the county?
So with $117,000, Commissioner, Captain Sean Wilkin for the record, that is the cost of the purchase of the MDTs and the in-car mounts plus 2 years of the cellular sustainment service. So to purchase them, put them into the vehicles, and to pay for the Verizon service for them for a period of 2 years, that is all covered by this grant.
Okay. What are we looking at from after 2 years out? Do we know?
So that comes to $40.01 per month per terminal for the Verizon Air Card. And currently, take a look at my budget line, is at 18 terminals. So it'll be a cost of $8,642 per year.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, okay, so the I'm looking at the staff report. It has the cost at $112,784.22. And then the cost for the program, to get the program, is another $8,642 per year.
That's after 2 years.
Yeah, first 2 years is covered under the grant.
Yes, sir.
So the 112,845. Where we have another extra 5,000 on that you're requesting here.
No, we're only requesting we're not requesting. We have a grant that we want to accept. $112,784.22.
So there's
And that will carry us for a 2-year period. After 2 years, there would be a sustainment cost of $86.42 per year.
Okay. So the agenda is wrong at 100. It says 117.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, ours says 112.
It's 112. Okay.
Does yours say 117?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But we're not.
In the
not
grant
ex-
award.
We're
I
not
do have-
exceeding that number, so.
Okay, it must have been a typo, but the grant award itself
Right.
says 112,
It
784.
was a typo.
Any other questions?
No brainer.
Somebody at? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we approve the request on the part of the sheriff to accept the grant award from the Office of Criminal Justice Assistance in the amount of $112,784.22 for the purchase of mobile data terminals and a 2-year data service contract for those terminals.
Okay. Motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to take a 5-minute recess here and come back and we'll start with the public hearings. Great idea.
is to basically take away those easements so that reversion to acreage can be filed on these parcels. This is a location of a future solar project, and they can't build over property lines. We did this 3 years ago, I think it was, when they proposed the other one in a couple of other sections. They had been parceled.
Okay, I looked at, I saw the map. Looks like there's an easement with a road line that kind of goes diagonally through that.
And that's not part of the abandonment.
Okay, so it won't affect that
No.
easement?
No.
Okay. Any questions?
Will it affect any public access to public lands?
No, because there is no access, I mean, currently.
Is there any other comments from anybody before I ask for the public's? Is there anybody in the public who would like to, this is public comment or a public hearing, is there anybody in the public who has like to make comment?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Mr. Sullivan, is that?
Yeah, this is JD Sullivan. I represent Val Energy and Hermes Socrates. LLC is the landowners, and just wanted to express our appreciation to Dave Mendiola and Betty Lawrence and Jan Morrison and everyone who's worked together to move this project forward. We started, as you know, in 2017. At that time, it seemed like it was moving at rocket pace, but things have slowed down, and but it's still moving, and so that's a positive thing. And we're sort of taking one step at a time, and we really appreciate the commissioner's support and then the support of the district attorney's office and everyone who's been involved.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to provide comment? Hearing none, and I guess we just need a motion to approve the zone request and abandonment. I guess, are we doing a zone change?
No, it's an
I'm on the
abandonment.
wrong one here. Just to the abandonment, right?
Did he do public comment one more time?
Chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
I would make
Yes,
a
he did.
motion.
Did public comment.
Did you have a question?
Public comment, you already did it.
We already,
Yep.
I'd make a motion to approve AH-21-02, an abandonment request submitted by JD Sullivan as owner of Val Energy LLC, Hermes Socrates LLC, to abandon the 30-foot wide easements around the assessor parcel numbers 07-0707-01, 02, 07, and 08 within the northeast one-quarter section, 27 to 35 R43 East, M, D, B, and M, created with division of land into large parcels, maps recorded 5/29/2013 as document number 2013-2368.
Okay. Motion is on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, JD.
Appreciate it.
Buildings and grounds, am I right, Dave? Is that what we're
Correct.
on?
Yes, number 15.
Buildings and grounds request to contract to remove a defective air compressor and replace with a new compressor. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval to contract with A1 Commercial Service Company to remove a defective air compressor and install a new compressor at the Humboldt County Annex Building in the amount not to exceed $9,621 and subject to District Attorney's Office review and approval. The air conditioning compressor at the Annex Building is approximately 20 years old and has recently stopped working. For possible action. Enoch?
Morning, Commissioner. Enoch Gaitana, Buildings and Grounds Department, for your reference. I got a call from the Annex back on September 10 about the AC is not working. Jeff and I, we went and looked at it, and we find out that the compressor, it's seed that stopped working, not doing anything at all. So we contact A1 Commercial Services that day. It was in town and came looked at it, and their determination was the same. Compressor has got locked up, and it's not repairable. So it's be replaced, the compressor. So it is 20 years old according to the data and the system.
Okay.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah. Things only last so long, right?
Yep.
And they work.
Mr. Chair, too, just point out that I did approve the replacement of that since we were in the middle of the heat still. So they did replace that, I believe, already. So then we're bringing it back to tell you about it. So,
So do we need to take an action on it still?
yeah, I think you do.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, as Commissioner French, I would move for the approval to contact with a contract with A1 Commercial Service Company to remove the defective air compressor and install a new compressor at the Humboldt County Annex Building in an amount not to exceed $96.21.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Enoch.
Thanks, Enoch.
Thank you.
Thanks, Enoch.
Thanks, Enoch.
I'll move on to welfare set-aside agreement for
Mr. Chair?
2022.
You missed one there.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, these number 16, professional services agreement.
I just checked it off and thought I did it. Professional services agreement with Cushing Terrell Architects for, this is for possible action. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the following professional service agreement. A professional service agreement between Cushing Terrell Architects and Humboldt County to provide professional services for architectural design work for the capital projects approved in the fiscal year 2022 budget, to include the courthouse entryway upgrade, the courtroom, justice, and district renovations, the library ADA and bathroom renovations, and the buildings grounds new shop building in an amount not to exceed $563,524.94, and subject to the district attorney's office review and approval. This dollar amount is included in the capital projects budget that was submitted and approved by the commission as part of the fiscal year 2022 budget. This work will be completed over 3 years and paid out as work is completed. Discussion, possible action. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll start. So just want to make sure that the commissioners understand that what we're approaching the commission with is to retain Cushing Terrell Architects for the architectural design work for the courthouse renovations, the entryway to the courthouse, or the courtroom renovations, the entryway to the courthouse, the buildings and grounds shop building when we get to it. And then they've already done the plans actually for the library ADA, but on that part, they'll be sort of the project manager for that project. But the idea behind this, we're obviously not going to do all these at the same time for any number of reasons, because first of all, you can't get enough contractors to do them all at once. But I really think we need to focus on, this is just my opinion, the courtroom renovation because of the issues we have with the backlog of cases with Justice Court, and then also that entryway because of the ADA issue, and they're kind of combined. That's going to be a huge project because we're going to have to move Justice Court and district, and maybe not District Court, but Justice Court will have to move completely out of the building while they do the renovations, and we'll have to put them at a short-term spot out probably in the parking lot somewhere, not sure. But this will happen. That's why it's a 3-year contract. This will happen over time as we do them. If we end up not doing them, one of the projects, then obviously we wouldn't pay them to do that. So.
And I'll add, I mean, these projects were approved with the it's my feeling that we did not have the dollars at this point to complete all these projects or to start. We were gonna come back one by one and approve them by this commission. So I would hope that that's how we will also do the engineering and architectural work. You'll bring it back to this commission for approval to move on with
Absolutely.
those projects.
That's exactly what I had in mind.
Yeah.
With that said, now I'll open the floor to you guys if you have anything to add here.
Well, the only, this is
Please say.
Angela Hansen with CTA Architects Engineers out of Boise, just for your record. The one item that I would add to this conversation is this is a follow along to the work that you already completed in the master plan. So if you remember in 2018, 17, 18 timeframe, you had engaged us to come down and do an overall plan that looked at the resource of the building and like, and so this is just the next step in that process, really. So just reminding you that
Right,
you've already gone down the road a little bit.
And I think that because your company does have knowledge of what we want and has looked at it already, that's a good thing too, so. Anything else from anybody?
Got a long history in this community of your work, I think hospital is a good example of it as well, and a nice piece of work there.
No, I would agree. This Commissioner Hill, we've got a working relationship with this group, and they've got a lot invested. The county's got a lot of money invested in their knowledge that we've already paid for. I think it's a good move to continue this engagement.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is it's a tough one to swallow, but I think it's definitely it's necessary for us to move forward with what we know we need to do. It just might not be all at one time.
And it is a large sum. This is because of its nature, it doesn't have to go out for bids, huh?
There's an exception within NRS 332 for professional service agreements that allows it not to go out to bid. So this would meet that exception. However, subject to the board, you can always get quotes for other companies or go out to bid. However, it is an exception.
Well, I think as stated, because of their, they've worked in this county a lot already, have that. If we had to start over with a new company, we'd probably have to pay even more because they would have to get caught up to where this firm is at this time, so.
I agree.
Well, and that would be the point at that, as my comment is, to start over with a whole new professional services firm, the county would be out a lot of money to get to the point where we're at right now. If there were any savings to be had, would be ate up by that.
Yeah, I agree.
That type of stuff. So.
And I think the other thing that we haven't said is that the work that's been performed up to this point has been top shelf from my perspective, and I think we should stick with that.
Okay.
I believe.
Question.
Wendy Maddox for purposes of the record, if I may. I also want to let you know that pursuant to NRS 332.065, that in addition to the exception for professional services agreement, there's also a provision that talks about when a contract exceeds $100,000, when you can look to some other factors to go with a preferred person, and one of those is past performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
We spoke to that.
I just wanted to be clear that if this was approved, that the component of work that we would want to work on first would be given to you by Mr. Mendiola. Is that how we would be doing this?
Through us.
And then that one's completed, you'd be paid and moved on to the next one, whatever the next one is ordered. That's right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm
okay.
ready to make a motion. Mr. Chairman, this Commissioner French, I would request an approval and request to enter into a professional services agreement between Cushing Terrell Architects CTA and Humboldt County to provide professional services for architectural design work for the capital projects approved in the fiscal year 2022 budget, to include the county courthouse entryway upgrade,
the courtroom justice and district renovations, the library ADA, the bathroom renovations at building and grounds, and the building and grounds new shop building in an amount not to exceed $563,524.94 and subject to the district attorney's office review and approval.
Okay. Do we need to add the 3 years or? So should probably have put.
In fact, I think 3 years, I think it probably might be more than that.
Yeah.
It just depends on what the economy does.
Okay. Any motions on the floor? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a safe trip.
Now we go to welfare set-aside agreement for 2022. Consideration, discussion, possible approval of 2022 welfare set-aside agreement with the state of Nevada for affordable housing welfare set-aside funds for Humboldt County in the amount not to exceed $7,186.70 and subject to the district attorney's office's review and approval. Discussion, possible action.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Nikki Lynn, Humboldt County Human Services Coordinator. Haven't been here for a while. You've seen this contract come before you many times. It's just, it's used to reimburse for emergency shelter that my office provides. It can be used for utility assistance, rental assistance. It's typically used mostly for the motel reimbursement. Seems to be the biggest issue that we've had, especially lately. So I'm just asking for the chairman to sign upon DA's approval, and that's about it. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Have you seen a growth in the need for this service or?
Very much so.
Very much so.
Very much so. We have people coming in droves to our community that have no reason for being here other than they thought it looked like a cute town, and they hear that there's a lot of housing available, which is not the case. They hear there are a lot of jobs, which there are quite a few jobs, but they're mostly fast food. So we're all seeing at the other agencies, law enforcement, we've all talked about it. We have meetings constantly, but yeah, we have a bunch of people coming into town and they have to meet certain criteria. I don't give everybody a room that shows up in town. They have to have income. How to say this? They are encouraged to go back home if they have means to support themselves where they came from. But yeah, there are a lot of cases where we are providing motel rooms. Just in case anybody wonders, with the recent Western Inn that burned down, we have not provided any housing for those folks. I haven't been asked yet, which I'm shocked, but most of the people that were living down there, a lot of them were my former clients, and to be honest, most of the motels would not let these people stay at their facilities. So any other questions?
Do we have adequate capacity in the community for the demands that you're seeing right now?
No, not at all.
I wondered about that.
No, and we've also seen quite a few evictions recently, and these are families that are having to move out of their apartment for non-payment or for non-compliant with their lease. And we are having to put some of them into motel rooms because there are not available apartments or houses. So it's tough.
Do we have funding out there for folks that would come to town and say this isn't what they thought it was, and the resources weren't available here to get them back to maybe where they would?
By all means.
Okay.
Yes, we use Amtrak quite frequently.
Okay. Any other questions for Nikki? This is something we have done for forever, I guess, and need to continue it for sure. So I think, is there a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we approve the 2022 welfare set-aside agreement with the state of Nevada for affordable housing
welfare set-aside funds for Humboldt County in the amount not to exceed $71,8670, and subject to the district attorney's review and approval.
Okay. Motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nikki.
Brings us to Humboldt County's response to USDA APHIS defunding. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a letter signed by the chairman in response to the depletion and loss of funds from USDA APHIS programs and requesting that the state seek new funding from the federal government to continue aerial and ground treatment programs for Mormon crickets. The Nevada Department of Agriculture and NDA estimates that funds remaining for Nevada will be exhausted by 2022. NDA has informed Humboldt County that funding will no longer be available after the 2022 season. Discussion, possible action. Dave?
Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola for the record. So we received a letter from USDA APHIS that they would, first of all, the funding that was originally approved in 2004 by Congress is now nearly run out. They've got enough to get through the fiscal year 22, so next season. We'll have one more year and funding to do the aerial. And let me go back a little bit. So obviously, this is the group that the money that comes and provides to the state to do the aerial treatments for Mormon crickets. They also do ground treatments with this funding as well. But that's a big deal. And as you know, over the last 2 years, we've been able to fend off some of the infestation through our own ground treatment through the city and the county using Ron's Feed and Supply and their group, which has done a tremendous job. But ultimately, the aerial treatments is what really makes it happen. When we get those in a timely fashion, it really helps, as we saw this year. We got that done on time, and then with our own work, it was very effective. So essentially what this letter does is sends a message to our congressional group, as well as the governor's office and USDA, that says, hey, we really need to fund this again. You can't stop doing this because, again, as we all know, this infestation comes off of federal lands and ends up having a big impact on farmers, ranchers, the city of Winnemucca. I mean, several years ago, we saw them. You couldn't even hardly get into the hospital without having to pass through a large swarm of them. So it's my recommendation that we would send this letter off to key congressional delegates and to the state to make sure that they relook at this for funding.
Yeah, I would echo that. Like you said, but the biggest cause of these infestations comes off of federal land, and so to be good neighbors, they should be prepared to do their part. Also important is identifying where the crickets, where the grasshoppers, where the infestations are is needed so that we know where to treat. And I think the only one that's capable of doing that is the federal government, the federal partners.
Yeah, they're the ones that are handling all the paperwork and the NEPA requirements and all of that. And that's a huge part of it.
So I think it's imperative we try to get our congressionals at least and let the state know that this is important. And I think we're looking at another year of climate where we're supposed to have a warm winter again, and with the warm winter will come a lot of bugs. So we better prepare for it.
Yeah,
yeah.
We get a warm winter.
Yeah.
So can I have a motion on
I
this?
certainly don't think we need to send the message to Congress that we're okay with defunding the program. Sure. And if
That's
we don't
right.
send this letter, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we approve a letter signed by the chairman in response to the depletion and loss of funds for the USDA APHIS program and requesting that the state seek new funding from the federal government to continue aerial and ground treatment programs for Mormon crickets.
All right, motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed unanimously. That brings us to 19.
Yes, sir.
China Springs Youth Camp request for funds. Discussion, possible action. Consideration, discussion, possible approval, request from China Springs Youth Camp for Humboldt County to provide additional funds from the American Rescue Act funds, ARPA. Discussion, possible action. Would like to take this.
Mr. Chair, I'll just start here, and then I'd like Commissioner Tipton to provide his comments. But as you know, we've been working with China Spring Youth Camp. When I say we, Judge Montero, Pauline Sala from Juvenile Services, as well as all the county managers in the state. This is a site where they provide youth services for those individuals who obviously run afoul of school and the law in some cases. And so this is a place that we would send kids, both boys and girls. They have two different facilities. And but we, from the boys' side, that we've been pretty happy with the girls' side for years. The boys' side, though, we've had some issues. We do, per NRS statute, supply $60,000 a year as part of the original startup of this facility. We have not been terribly happy with the services provided on the boys' side. And for that reason, we've really only sent on average one person a year for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's pretty expensive if you look at $60,000 per client. Now, we are working really closely with China Youth. They have a working group that they've established. Judge Montero and Pauline are active in that, specifically Pauline and myself. And we've made our concerns known to them. And they do, in the past legislative session, the governor cut their budget by $1.2 million. At that point in time, we started working on all kinds of solutions. In the meantime, just about a week before we went before the Finance Committee in the legislature to deal with the problem, they shut down the boys program and didn't tell anybody. So that was another kind of a slap in the back we felt. So in any case, we've got a lot of work to do on that front. Let's just put it that way. And then this letter kind of came out of nowhere from the director of China Spring and took us all kind of by surprise. We ended up having to have a special meeting of the county managers and just to figure out where did this come from. It wasn't talked about in a working group meeting that we had about, going back to counties for this ARPA money. So, so that's where we left it. Commissioner Tipton and I reached out to Judge Montero and Pauline, and I'll let him take it from there.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, when we got this letter, it was certainly alarming to me that we would have another county, if you will, be asking for our money. And at that point, I thought there's no way that I could recommend us sending our ARPA money to another county because we need to spend it within ours. And so I reached out to Dave about it, and we did pretty much what Dave said. We talked with Pauline and we talked with Judge Montero, and I just can't see any reason why Humboldt County would want to send their money. As Comptroller Rackley stated earlier today, we have more requests than we have money for as it is. So my position on this is to deny it.
Okay.
And that, by the way, Dave Mendiola again, that was the sentiment of Judge and Pauline as well. They want nothing to do with that, nor do I.
That's right.
So is this something that requires a response?
We got a letter requesting it, so it was just made sense that we could respond. I think it's important that we respond publicly to them to let them know. Yes, that would be my answer.
Okay.
We don't use this as it is. I mean, we really don't.
Yeah. Well, I just wondered if we need to respond or just take no action on it.
I think we ought to make a statement. When this thing first happened, I'm saying this is Commissioner French. I think when this thing first came up on our radar here right about the budget cycle. We, had a lot of conversations about that. We're not interested in funding anything that has a real poor track record in terms of results on that. And we requested specifically through Pauline that they come forward with a plan of action that will improve their performance down the road. And I think everybody was asking for the same thing, with maybe the exception of Lyon County. So with that in mind, I think this request is just outside that. The request isn't backed up by a work program that is, with these funds we're going to improve, this way. None of that. It's just we just need your money. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to make a motion to deny the request from China Spring Youth Camp to provide additional funds from the American Rescue Plan for that entity.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was an A. Okay. That motion passes unanimously to deny the request. That brings us to future agenda items.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola, future agenda. I've got 3 items that came out of today's meeting. One was regarding our first presentation to bring the Wildlife Committee back here to report. So I'll reach out to those folks and see if they can come in and kind of tell us what they're working on and the things they're concerned about. ARPA funding plan, Gina mentioned that we pretty much, looks like they've got it in place now. They'll bring that back on October 18th. They have to report, we have to report to the feds by November 1st. So you'll get a chance to see that and finalize that. Now, of course, that can be changed, I think, if something changes over time, but that'll be our first preliminary report to the federal government on those funds that have been provided. And then, of course, the public hearing that we did a set to here on the rezone RH 2113. So I have those. Also, I know that we will also on the nuisance issue that we have out in Paradise Estates. I know that they're working on that too. So I'm hoping that maybe by then we'll have something for you. So. Oh, yes. Yeah. That was the one that came before you at the last meeting out in Grass Valley on the burned up home out there.
Commissioners, anything that you can think of you'd like to include on the future agenda? Dave, one thing that you'd brought up to me is, and this isn't an agenda item, but probably information the commissioners need to know is NDEP has a hearing coming up on.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that one?
I don't have the exact date yet. I just got a call on Thursday, I think it was, maybe it was Wednesday evening while we were in Fallon from NDEP, and they're setting up a couple of public hearings to announce their permitting of the lithium Nevada mine. And so they will do that in a public forum. So they were looking for places to do it. So they're working with the Convention Center and the Boys and Girls Club. We're trying to figure out the dates. I don't have the dates in front of me though, but I'm assuming I probably got an email by now. He was going to contact me this morning. So.
Well, I thought I'd heard that it was like in the first week of October that they were considering.
Yeah, it's like very soon, but I just didn't have a confirmation of it.
Okay.
So.
When you get that, would you please?
Yeah, I'll blast it out to everybody, let you know.
Anything else? No? Public comment. Is there anyone in the public who would like to provide comment? If you're on the phone, press *6 to unmute yourself. I'm not seeing any. Then we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll make it.
NDEP made their decision?
Yeah.